name is Ramila Chanisheff, and I'm the president of the Australian Uyghur Tangritagh Women's Association. We started off as a women's association to serve the Uyghur women within our community, but with the current situation back in East Turkestan or to the Uyghurs, we also became activists by default. Just speaking up and being the face and the voice of the millions of Uyghurs who have disappeared into the concentration camps under the Chinese government's regime, and also millions disappearing into the forced labor camps in East Turkestan or Xinjiang, and also across China. East Turkestan or Xinjiang was occupied in 1949, and East Turkestan or northwest China is home to Turkic people or the Uyghur people, my homeland where I was born. And we know that the region is extremely rich in resources and agriculture. So we have oil and gas, and we have natural cotton, and we have a lot of minerals. So the China's occupation of the region was very strategic. And the fact that we actually, geographically, we sit in Central Asia. So that region, East Turkestan, is now being used as a hub to pump gas from East Turkestan through to Central Asia, through to Europe, through to the rest of the world. So using, under the Xi Jinping's One Road, One Belt initiative, this expansion and control, and to ensure that the Uyghur people do not resist, do not demand the income of these natural resources, they have been oppressed under false pretenses. People have been taken into concentration camps, or what China calls re-education camps. And you are talking about educated people, you're talking about professionals, doctors, academics, scholars, people with high positions or personal businesses, taken into these concentration camps to be re-educated, indoctrinated. And these camps also work to completely cut you off from your history, from your culture, from your tradition, and also from your language. So as an Uyghur in this day and age, our schools don't exist anymore, our universities don't exist, and even kindergartens are taught in the Han Chinese language. So that cut from our history and our identity has been strongly enforced in horrific manners by the Chinese Communist regime. And since Xi Jinping came into power in 2016, we have heard that millions of Uyghurs and Turkic people of the region have disappeared into concentration camps. And that includes our cousins, my cousins as well, and every Uyghur, Australian Uyghur, has a family member or a friend who has disappeared into these camps, or most of us have lost complete communication with our family members. The Genocide Convention, UN's Genocide Convention, anything that is deemed to deteriorate, to dehumanize, to separate, and to cut off and control your religion, language, identity, and heritage comes under Genocide Convention. And this is what the Uyghur people have been actually suffering for decades, since 1949, but more so since 2016. We used to have language schools and kindergartens. Now children are separated from their parents and are forced to speak the Chinese language. Anything, if we practice our religion, if we speak even Uyghur language outside of the house, we can be taken into a camp and re-educated by the Chinese Communist regime. So over 11 parliaments across the world, that includes US, UK, and Canada, and Europe, have determined that this is genocide under the UN's report back last year. It's crimes against humanity, but nothing is being done to ensure that the Uyghurs are ethnically cleansed of this earth. So the Chinese communist regime has for many years coerced rural people to come out and work in cotton fields, picking cotton and picking tomatoes. But in recent years with the concentration camps, what they have is different grades of concentration camps. So the labor camps are sometimes attached to the concentration camps within East Turkestan or Xinjiang region, or the people are actually sold as commodities and trafficked into mainland China, where you will find a lot of industries who are producing these products, and you are moved across China by no by no will of your own. It's purely 100% forced, where you are controlled 24 hours a day in these dormitories, where you are expected to work 13-14 hours. So the UN has reported a few years ago anything between 1 to 3 million Uyghurs are in concentration camps. But when you talk to the Uyghurs in the diaspora, it's anything between 6 to 10 million. So there's a churn of people coming in and out of these camps. It's difficult to give you exact numbers because we can't verify, neither can any external independent body. But so Uyghurs are being forced into labor in the areas of variety of products, and the main ones that we are really concerned about now are the solar panel industry, the cotton and the tomato. So in East Turkestan is where they mine the products for the solar panels, and the production of solar panels also are made in Xinjiang, the region. Tomatoes are grown in East Turkestan because of the arid and the beautiful agricultural landscape that we have there. Cotton, of course, is apparently the best cotton in the world for making garments. So Uyghurs are used in that area where they are physically labored in the fields and out in the mines, mining and picking and growing tomatoes and cotton and polysilicon and all the other ingot minerals that form a solar panel. And then when those products, raw products, are gone into the labor camps to produce the garments or to make the solar panel or to make the tomato into tomato paste, can be done in East Turkestan or Xinjiang, and it can also be transported together with the humans as well. Those products can be transported into mainland China, where the industries are based, to make the garments that we wear. And Uyghur forced labor, Uyghurs are also trafficked into those industries in mainland China to work in the factories that's been established. 2021, I think a report came out called Uyghurs for Sale by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, and it went into in-depth investigation as to where the supply chains were and who were making and producing these products, and over 80 brands were implicated at the time, well-known brands. I think the tangible actions that we can do every day is to ensure that we read the labels as to where the product comes from, knowing full well that any product that comes from China can be highly likely tainted by Uyghur forced labor. I think, in this day and age, it's very difficult not to buy cheaper products when lifestyle is getting, our life is getting very difficult, everything's getting so expensive, and our markets are saturated by Chinese-made products. So I think our lobby at this moment is demand the industries where you buy from, just to make sure that they have a clear-cut policy in place, sustainable policy, where they ensure that their products are not made by Uyghur forced labor. That's put a demand on the industries brands that you buy from. The other important thing, I think it's more important, more effective in the long term, is to ensure our government puts policies and penalties in place to make sure that the industries are held accountable should they bring any products that's made by forced labor. Yeah. So talk to your local member, talk to your federal member, write to the Prime Minister, to the Foreign Minister, and deeply concerned about products that we are using and consuming is tainted by Uyghur forced labor. I think putting the onus on the consumer solely is very unfair when our market is saturated. And I think America has a law in place, it's called Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which has actually worked, where ships have been stopped at ports and it doesn't enter America soil, or consumers don't have access to those products when it has been proven that any of the products are made by Uyghur forced labor. And Europe is on the same path as well, introducing a law, and so is Canada. So why should Australia not be, taking this action? So this ban would stop any products at the borders entering into Australia, which means that it won't hit our shelves, into our shopping shelves, and it won't entice us to buy cheaper products that is made by Uyghur forced labor. And that also puts the onus back onto the industries who make millions of dollars of profit on the backs of slave labor. So you have Uyghur forced labor that taints all products that come from China, and these people are also going through genocide, ethnic cleansing, and separation. So for us to understand as consumers, and for the government to understand that we don't want Australian consumers to be in a predicament, I suppose, to buy products and be complicit in Uyghur forced labor. Educate yourself about who the Uyghurs are and why are we in the news, and why am I talking about Uyghur forced labor. We are a very small community in Australia. I think the census only says we're about 3,000 to 4,000 across Australia, but every one of us has a family member, immediate family member that has disappeared, and more than likely in concentration camps or in forced labor. So if you search our organization, we do a lot of lobbying, and we do a lot of work in the field of slave labor and forced labor. And we can also go out and educate organizations or educations or any industries, if they are willing to learn how we can prevent or how we can ensure that our products are not made by Uyghur forced labor. So please find us on Facebook and Instagram, get in touch, and help us spread the word about the situation that the Uyghurs are facing at the moment under the Chinese Communist regime.